Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness down the river of tranquility to fill the lake of life with love.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to yet another version. Oh man, it's going to be one of those days.
This is great.
I didn't even get the first three words out correct. This is going to be fun. All right, so I'm just going to read from the script instead. In this stirring episode of Late Night Love, we navigate the turbulent seas of relationships from the revelation of past indiscretions to the finality of divorce, and from family feuds to the negotiations of life changes before welcoming a new life. We cover it all. Join us as we dissect heartfelt narratives that offer insights into the art of maintaining personal integrity and emotional well-being amidst life's relational challenges. Man, I couldn't even read that properly. I almost read that as changes, which would have worked actually. Okay, but we are going to start tonight with I've Got a Thing. So we're going to start with I'm going to go like this and like that. All right. Oh, man, it's hard to read over there. So let's try this. Let's try it over here. Oh, that's even harder. All right.
I can't read it.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, this is the story about a 27-year-old, they're 27-year-old female, 30-year-old man, married couple. And he's been a, mother's steady work type of people, gets off, goes to work every morning and whatnot. And one day he got laid off and he took a couple days to tell his wife about it. And she reacted in a way that she defines concerning, right?
Well, even she finds it concerning. Yes.
Yes, even she found her reaction concerning. She didn't feel the love, empathy, and compassion. To use a modern word, she kind of had the ick.
Well, he was crying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which tells us something. We talk about, they say society tells men to not cry, to be strong. Well, what part of society is actually telling them that? It's not other men. No man ever. It's not the men. It's these subtle pressures. Now, I'm going to give her a break. She realizes these emotions are wrong. And sometimes you can't always control your emotional reactions. You can't control that initial emotional reaction. But what you can do is control how you deal with them. And she's trying to figure out a way of dealing with them. Right?
Yeah.
So she knows this isn't right. But you're experiencing trauma together at this point. And what you need to do is you go talk to him and you tell him, look, I didn't respond the way I should have. And you just go and apologize. And the new avenue of closeness will be available within your relationship. He knows what happened. He's not stupid. He wasn't oblivious. So you're going to have to deal with it. And the best way to deal with it is directly. You just go and apologize. It says, you didn't respond the way you would have liked. You were experiencing a shock as well.
Yes.
And so I think, give yourself a little bit of a break, but at the same time, you're doing the proper thing and trying to work your way through it. But it shouldn't take very long. But go talk to your husband, tell him what happened.
Apologize.
Yeah. And he may not have noticed, right? He may have been lost in his own thought and he may not have noticed, but it doesn't matter. You did. So go deal with it and you guys will get closer.
Yes.
And we can hope that you can help him through his depression, because those signs that you were talking about, he hasn't been himself recently. Those are the signs of depression. He went through a great trauma. The world was one day one thing and the next day it wasn't. and it was completely different. So, and through no fault of his own, it's just sometimes layoffs happen. So hopefully, you got a severance package or a couple of weeks so you can at least take a breath and help him on his journey. If there's parts of the looking for new work journey he finds difficult, help him with it. Be supportive.
Yes.
Okay, so that's for that. So that's what we started with today. So as we all go through these things in life, there was a coworker of mine. He says, these days everybody's going through something, and I think that's one of those things that we should all be mindful of, right? That everybody's going through something.
Everybody is. Yeah.
And if you happen to not be going through something at the moment, take your blessings, because something's coming around the corner. It's just the way life
It's
is.
just life.
There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it except try to get through it with grace. Try to not lose your humanity in the difficulty, I think, is the real key. And if you want to send us your stories or comments and questions, you can send them to love@latenightLove.us. And you can find us also at love@latenightLove.us. Okay. So we are going to move on to our questions. We're going to start with relationships tonight.
Very good.
All right.
My friend told me she made it past with my boyfriend 2 years ago. Do I act on this? If so, how?
Well, if you need someone to tell you how to act on it, there's probably not a lot for you to act on.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're upset. I mean, it was 2 years ago. Oh, and she was drunk.
Oh, well, then you've probably already done the excusing thing. Let's adjust that. You have terrible mic discipline, by the way. Makes it hard for editing. I think you've already kind of excused her. She's kind of, fessed up to it. She hasn't kind of done the same thing. And, not all passes are equal. Sometimes, friendly flirtations, which people are allowed to engage in, can sometimes, especially when you're drunk, cross a line intentionally or unintentionally. I think I'd let sleeping dogs lie, personally.
It was 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, 2 years isn't all that long ago, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But in the grand scheme of things, if it's unusual behavior, you're at that situation, you're trusting more in your husband than you are in your friend anyway. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter all that much. Your husband's not going to do anything. So what do you care if when she's a little tipsy, she gets a little flirty and your husband sends her on her way, calls her the Uber or whatever. It's fine. Your husband is a grown man. He can deal with it. Yes, he clearly did. So there's not much to be mad at. I suppose you could do the friendship equivalent of the wet noodle on the wrist type thing if you really wanted to, but I don't know. I don't know what that would entail. That's dependent upon your friendship. So, this kind of thing is a punishment by annoyance. It's not really a punishment, but y'all kind of have to do something. I get it. Make her take you to a mani-pedi or something. I don't know. All right, what's next?
I asked my husband for a divorce, and now he's been the perfect husband in an attempt to get me to change my mind. How can I explain to them that I've completely made up my mind and he can't change it?
Well, go through with it.
You need to. Sounds like they're still living together.
Yeah, if you're gonna say you want a divorce, then get the divorce. If you haven't actually done the split, then you're only saying you want it. You're actually leaving open the possibility that it's not finalized yet in your mind. So at this stage, the only way to finalize that is to finalize it. Yeah, you can tell them all you want, but if you're still essentially living as a married couple, you're sending mixed signals. And so you're saying there's still a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So You're going to have to act your words. That's how you get past that one. Okay, what do we have next?
Okay, my brother cut me out of his life after I called him out for his wife making our mom cry and tell her how much she hated our family. What would you do next?
Me? Probably nothing.
Nothing. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, go back to the sleeping dog's lie. There's, if someone doesn't want you in their life for the moment, then they don't want you in their life for the moment. There's not a lot you can do. You can keep an open mind and an open relationship. You can still send, Christmas cards and whatnot, and keep your end civil, but it's really all you can do is maintain your own personal integrity.
Mhm.
You've behaved the way that you felt you needed to, and everybody can respect that.
They can. I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with what you've done, assuming you didn't cross any lines yourself and how you called them out,
Mhm.
So at this place, everybody has made their choices in these relationships, and these things will evolve or they won't. Sometimes life, said that a couple times already today. Life's just like that sometimes. It's just,
Mhm.
there's nothing you can do. He cut you out, but you can still do what you feel you need to do. If you feel you need to send Christmas presents or birthday presents, you can do that or not. Move on with yourself. Keep an open mind for later would be my suggestion. Okay.
My wife is 2 months pregnant and told me that she wants to move before we have kids. I told her this was not an option before we got married. How can I proceed? Okay, he's based in Chicago.
Okay.
His entire career is there, and he can't leave.
Okay.
So, and she wants to move, I forget, somewhere in the USA to be with her parents
Yeah.
while she has her baby.
Okay.
And he can't do that.
Okay. So they currently live together, and she wants to relocate, and he doesn't have career options there. Is he looked for new career options there in the new area?
I'm not sure.
Because,
Because he's very close-minded. My career is here. I can't move.
well, and it may be a career where he can't, and it's one of those things. Sometimes you get in a career, maybe it's in finance or something, and you're not going to be able to replace that somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is one of those things y'all should have decided about, 3 months ago. At this stage, you guys should have thought of that. The difference in life, long-term life goals.
I mean, you have to. But he was clear, Now, the only thing I can think of.
I'm not sure what the married thing is. So if you get married, then he can move?
No, they were married. They are married.
Okay.
But he told her before they got married.
Okay, so this is actually a question I've got. My guess is he was one of those people who's working 60, 70 hours a week. So during her pregnancy, she's feeling a bit alone.
And probably understands this is how it's going to be with raising this child.
Well, and this is a big change for her, and so she's going, yeah. So in this particular case, they're both going to have to compromise. He's going to have to focus some more time on his family, and she's going to have to realize that she's on the path for a family. And if, the family is where you can make a living. Now, maybe the long-term solution is to, find a compromise where he can have a career. Maybe it's not as lucrative, but you have a better lifestyle somewhere else, doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
But in the immediate future, you're 2 months pregnant. You can't afford to be making huge economic changes right now. right?
Not really.
Not unless you've got you got a plan and prepped for changing. It's not best for your family. So I don't know. It's not terribly uncommon for women to go live with their families during the final months of pregnancy.
It's not uncommon, no.
No, but in the first couple months of pregnancy, I say what's really happening here is they're at a crossroads in the relationship and they're using the pregnancy as a proxy. So my guess is they need to actually sit down and have the real discussion about the relationship that they need to have.
No. Mm.
What I would guess, you're actually having the wrong discussion. Which is why you're not going to get a satisfactory answer, because you're not actually having the right discussion.
Okay.
It's a tough one. You may need some help with that one to work through that one.
Yeah.
You know, so just so you stay on path of the discussion. It's going to be hard to stay on the right discussion because there's moving parts. But the real discussion is the renegotiation of your relationship. Right? Relationships don't stay the same. Long-term relationships don't stay the same. So you have to renegotiate them when times change. And sometimes the negotiations, they end up pretty much exactly what they happened the last time, but the process is the key. Everybody still feels engaged and like they've been heard. Okay. What's next?
Okay. I had 102 fever and thought my boyfriend would take better care of me. Am I being dramatic?
Probably, but you've got 102 fever, so yeah, everything's going to be a bit dramatic there.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, 28-year-old boyfriends, most of them don't know how to take care of you. You're going to have to give instructions, which is what you don't want to do.
No, you want him to know.
But we don't know. We're not mind readers. You haven't figured this out yet. So, this is going to sound silly, but you may need to give him when you're not sick, write him up a game plan. Here's what's to do when I'm sick. Right?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Well,
but that's too romantic. He's supposed to just put the effort into it, figure it out.
His effort is he will follow your plan to a T if you give him one. That is the effort. We are simple creatures. You guys want us to be these romantic things that you see on TV, and for those of you who get them, be loving and happy that you find them, because they're like the rare gem, right? That's the rare bird. But for most of you, you're gonna have to accept less than that. You're gonna have to accept that they really want to, they just don't know how. And they may have figured it out one time, but they forgot by the next time you got sick. And so they don't remember anymore. And he's like, but that one time you knew. I was guessing. I don't remember. Luck. Sometimes you stumble into luck, and so yeah. If we don't remember, we aren't thinking about these things.
See, I forget sometimes. You didn't come this way.
No. I did not. It's not like I popped up at 18. No, I was as big of a moron as anybody else was. We all went through these things. Even now, I still don't know what to do. I just admit it, and it seems to make things a little better.
Well, you ask me. What can I do for you?
Well, yeah, it's because I don't know. And so, all right, I'll just ask. Better ask somebody. I actually learned that in working on assembly lines. It just happens to work in relationships too. Better ask somebody. All right, so what's next?
All right. My landlord keeps letting people enter my apartment with no warning, and my boyfriend thinks locking them out fixes the problem. I disagree. Who's right?
Well, unless there's emergency maintenance.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's emergency maintenance, then it's emergency maintenance.
and emergency maintenance and like the, spraying for bugs.
Well, even spraying for bugs, they should give notice. The only thing they can give in without notice is emergency maintenance. I mean, generally emergency maintenance. There's an electrical issue or something, and a gas issue or whatever, something that needs water, something that needs to get fixed right away that they can't give you reasonable notice. Even a phone call,
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a sense, there is, but locking you out also doesn't help because your landlord needs to have the key because he can get in case of an emergency need of emergency maintenance, and you don't happen to be home. So the key is if you're home, he should be letting people in. If you're not home and he's letting people in, he should be notifying you, and maybe he is, or maybe there's a bulletin board or something you're supposed to be checking for these notifications. If you're not sending out emails and they're going to your spam and you're not looking, so you don't see them. So maybe there is notification and you're not seeing them. So that is also a possibility. So it's kind of dependent upon. So find out is my question.
True, it could. Yeah, ask him.
Yeah, because
how is he notifying you?
Yeah, ask him how he's notifying you, because that would be my first question. Because especially if you're in an older apartment in someplace like New York City, there may have lots of needs to people come in, pest control, electrician, plumbers. They might not even be working on your thing. They could be 3 floors down, but they need access to your, to the water pipes in your room for whatever reason. And so sometimes these things can happen, but just go with your landlord about how and why. Read your lease is the other option. To make sure you're on task. On task, it's the wrong word. You know what you're talking about. You've got your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Parenting.
All right, parenting questions. Our favorites. Okay, what
my favorite? I love these. Wife and 7-year-old daughter are starting to have clashes over clothing, and I'm stuck in the middle. Okay, the wife is a real girly girl. And the 7-year-old just decided she wants to be a tomboy.
Okay.
And the wife is not understanding why she won't wear dresses anymore. Let her do her hair.
Well, I can tell you why. Because she'd been forcing her to for 7 years, and she just wants some of her own space. So here's the trick. Here's what you've got to talk to your wife about, and you guys need to get on the same page. Is that in order for your little girl to want to become back to wearing girly clothes, her mother's gonna have to back the heck off.
Yeah.
As soon as you let her be herself, she will go back to the girly clothes, or she will girlify her tomboy's clothes and be happy with that. But you're actually creating the monster. Your mother's, by trying to force these girly clothes, is actually creating the monster she doesn't want to. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You push too hard, and so she's pushing back. So back off. Stop pushing. It's the solution.
It's going to be hard for her to do.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because it's hard because mothers have this vision in their head for their little girls, little princesses, and they want to be. And it's great when these things match, when the girls and the mother's vision match. But sometimes you can try too hard, accidentally try too hard. You shouldn't mean to try too hard. She just likes to see her little girl dressed up in girly clothes. It makes her feel good as a mother. And so she tries too much rather than letting her, when she wants to go out and play in the mud, put some jeans on her, let her go out and play in the mud. When you're going to grandma's, let her dress up, let her have her own freedom. Because my guess is you won't let her go out and play in the mud with the dress on. Maybe if you'd let her get her dressers dirty, she wouldn't have such an aversion to putting them on. So anyway,
I used to climb trees in dresses.
That's what I'm saying. You stop trying so hard to kind of shape the children.
I was yelled at, but I did it anyway.
Did it anyway. Yeah, and stop this, because if you're fighting over it now, just wait for the next 10 years. So stop. The only way to do this is to stop. You don't want to spend the next 10 years arguing over clothes.
Oh, man. No.
You're going to have some battles anyway. So pick and choose.
Pick your battle.
Pick and choose. And her wanting to wear pants instead of dresses is not a battle you want to choose.
No.
You want to fight.
No.
Buy pants.
For heaven's sakes.
Yeah. It's just not. Okay.
Should I force activities on my kid? They just want to sit and play video games, and they want them. And when they haven't, they go and they will try things and they have an aptitude for them.
Okay.
But they don't pursue it.
And because it's not interesting for them. Look, you can get the same benefits from playing video games with your friends as you can going out and playing volleyball with your friends or volleyball for the school. What they aren't is competitive. Well, at least in sports, competitive. My guess is they're probably not even all that competitive in their gaming. They're just there to have some fun. So take the pressure off. Find some ways to have these as informal activities. So what they're probably against is kind of the structure. You don't have to go practice. They may like perfectly well playing volleyball or basketball or going off mini golfing with their friends. They may want to do it more often until you try and turn it into a formal activity, and then they no longer do it anymore. These kids' lives are so formalized. The one place they get their own choices is in video games, and you wonder why they go into video games? It's no surprise to me. We've structured their lives. The moment they get up, they have to order their lives by bells, have to turn in works and get graded as they're on things that they're still learning. You take a spelling test, you get 5 out of 10 right, and they say you are a failure on words you've never seen before. You've had a week to learn them. It's absurd. But yeah, that's their life. And you wonder why they want to dive into video games? So yes, give them opportunities to get out and participate in activities. But as we said earlier, don't pressure them. Just let them have some fun. Find something that they like to do, that they're half good at, bowling, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and just let them do it. Don't force them. Offer them opportunities. Don't force them in as part of a organized group. Say, hey, you guys feel like going bowling today? I'll pay for it. And just let them go. Don't try to force them onto a team. Don't try and force them into a regimented schedule. Just let them do it. That's my suggestion. And if you want them to learn how to do things, use their video games as a wedge. Ask them to start editing videos and put them on social media and things so they can learn skills. There's skills you can learn. You can use that as a wedge.
Nice.
So, okay. What do we have next?
What do you really need for a new baby? You need diapers and you need the receiving blankets. If you think you have enough receiving blankets, you're wrong. You will be doing laundry like every day because of receiving blankets.
Yeah, well, that or one, you need diapers, the disposable diapers, and lots of cloth diapers because they're good for cleaning up the spills and the whatnots, spit ups, and all the various things. But realistically, you need food for the mother or baby, depending upon your choice of feeding a baby. Right? You either have to make sure the mother's well nourished, or you have the proper amounts of formula. You have to make sure those things are covered. You have to make sure they have places to sleep that's warm and safe, and then they need lots of love. It's kind of it. You need to change their diapers. You need to keep them clean. You need to keep them safe and warm, and you need to love them. And food. You need to be able to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're breastfeeding, that means the mother needs to be well made and nourished.
Lots of snack.
Yes. And they need you long term, because in the first 3 months it's irrelevant, but long term, you need to take care of yourselves, because you can be a better parent and when you are in better physical and emotional condition. Now, the first 3 months, y'all going to be exhausted and sleep deprived. So just deal with it like every other parent on the planet always has since the beginning of, I don't know, parenting.
Parenting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what do we have next?
Feeling like a horrible parent. 2 of my 5 kids have cavities.
Well, if that's your worst problem, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a glass of wine, and go have some celebration. Because I'm serious. If that's your biggest problem, yeah, you're a success. Cavities happen. Even if you do everything right, cavities can still happen. Right? It just is. It's part of being human. One person can do everything right and get cavities. Another person can do everything wrong and not get cavities. It blows your mind. Right? So you just do the best you can and you take care of it when they pop up. It's not a parenting failure. It's just a thing. It's like lice. Happens sometimes. You just deal with it and you move on, you know? It just is. Now, there's lots of things that are going to make you feel like a horrible parent. And if this is a standard you're setting for yourself, you're setting yourself for a lot of beating the living tar out of yourself. And I just do not encourage that. If 2 of your kids having cavities, 2 of 5 kids have cavities and makes you feel like a failure, you are setting an impossibly high standard that you're not going to be able to meet. You're just not. You're going to fail all the time. And you fail all the time as a parent anyway. Don't set yourself up for even more. That's all I'm saying. So you just readjust your standards on that. You know, if that's your biggest problem, if that's the biggest thing that makes you feeling like a failure, you're a huge success. So I would reframe that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Does the phrase sleep regression annoy anyone else?
And so,
They have an infant.
yes, we should explain what sleep regression is.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain or do you want me?
You go ahead.
Sleep regression is when a infant, you know, first year of life figure, is when their sleeping patterns seem to revert to an old sleeping pattern rather than, you know, evolve to what is a more mature sleeping pattern. Say they sleep longer, sleep through the night, and all the various things that, you know, you expect children to do as they age that first year, from waking up every 2 hours to waking up every 6 hours to waking up every 8 hours, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so sometimes they might go back from 4 to 2 for a couple of weeks. And they call it sleep regression, which really is, it's creating a false standard is the problem. You get it when you're talking about childhood developments in the grand scheme of things. I get the use of the word, but it shouldn't be a common use of the word for anybody else. Because children don't go by, it's not a linear thing. All children have slips and starts and fits and
Yes.
starts. You know, they might sleep through the night for 2-3 nights in a row and then revert back to their old sleeping patterns. Why?
Dinner.
May not be a why. It just happened. You know, they're preparing for getting to their thing. They just weren't quite ready yet. Doesn't really matter, but they would call that sleep regression when it's really they just, you know, it's just part of the evolutionary process of the child. Leave them alone. But for professionals who are dealing with, you know, why sweeps or looking for signs of autism when you start or something like that, and you start adding them with other signs, then it can be useful. Most of us, it's just an annoying thing, and we shouldn't even know the words. It's not relevant. So, how's that?
I like it.
So it kind of annoys me, but I do understand why in certain cases it could be useful. But for most of us, we shouldn't even know it. Okay. What's next?
Are we disgusting for wanting to stop my brother-in-law lip kissing our daughter?
Well, are they like Italian or something?
No.
Okay, because there's certain cultures where it's not such a thing, especially at certain ages, younger. So depending upon, but no, you're not disgusting. My guess is it's a cultural thing. Would be my guess.
Okay.
And so what you've gotten here is a cultural clash, because in our culture it's the other way around, right? It's not the people trying to stop it that are disgusting. It would be considered the brother-in-law going around kissing people would be disgusting.
On the mouth? Come on.
Yeah, so
you don't kiss babies on the mouth.
So this is a cultural thing, and you just have to deal with it like it's any cultural issue, with a little empathy and understanding, but firmness at the same time. But we understand this is how you do things, but it's not how we do it. Yeah. Our in-laws great. Yay, in-laws. Woohoo! I really was excited. No, I wasn't. All right. So what we got next?
Your in-laws are all, my in-laws are all women. On your side,
What about them?
There's no brother-in-law.
And?
I have all women to deal with.
What's that got to do with it? Just means you're all crazier.
No, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Well, we're just likely to get drunk and hurt ourselves, so it balances out. We're just likely to goad ourselves into doing something stupid. So it's true. So
you come from a family with very strong opinions.
Yeah, you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. All right, so we got work questions next.
Senior colleague pushing their undesirable work on me.
Yeah, you ever heard the phrase? I can't use that on here. The low man on the totem pole, stuff rolls downhill. Yeah, that's what happens. Undesirable work goes to the person who's at the bottom of the totem pole. That's why you're there. Sorry to break it to you. It's your job to do the work other people don't want to do. Why they hired you. You should be thankful that they don't want to do it. I guess in a way, because then you have a job. Yeah, that's exactly why they hire people like you. Sorry to tell you this. I don't know who's been lying to you throughout your life. I know they make the job sound all great and whatnot, but really you're just doing the work nobody else wants to do, or they have figured it's not worth their time to do. Remember, they're paid $50-$60 an hour, $150 an hour, $200 an hour, $600 an hour, depending upon what their line of work is, right? And if they have to spend an hour doing something, when they can pay you a tenth, third, half of what it costs them to do it, so they can go off doing something else that's paying them the rate that they are earning. Yeah, and guess what? That's mostly undesirable work or routine work, mind-numbingly boring work. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's why your job exists, to take over those things so they don't have to do it, so they can go off and spend their time on more productive, or not necessarily even productive, because all jobs require everybody. Every cog in the wheel is important, or the machine stops working, right? but there are tasks that have less value than others, simply because, maybe who they're working for or what their nature of the task is. There's lots of yous that out there can do that job, so it's not worth as much as the guy who's passed it off to you. It's just your job. The sooner you accept that that's your job, the happier you're going to be. And gives you motivation to learn it well so you can no longer have to do it, and he trusts you with jobs, and you can hand that off to the next person whose job it is. Right?
Yeah.
You do this job well, they'll trust you. They'll give you stuff that's more interesting, has more value, and they'll give this stuff to somebody else. The next new guy. It's how it works. Good luck. It just is. That's your job. Sorry to break. Didn't want to have to break it to you. Okay.
Job requires now requires 2-point authentication, which is done on a cell phone app. Corporate does not pay for my cell phone.
Well, there's probably a email way to, if you really don't want to do it on your cell phone, you could probably go talk to IT and you could probably find a second way to authorize it. But it's a cell phone app, dude. Just sign in. Stop being a pain. You know what you want to do? They want a 2-factor authorization to sign into email or something on a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then don't use your cell phone. Go to your computer. You want the best of both worlds here. You don't want to put in a two-factor authentication app on your phone, but you still want to use your phone instead of going to your computer and sitting at your desk like you're supposed to. Sorry. Then don't use your phone. Is the solution to that. Go sit at your desk like you're supposed to. You want both worlds. You want to be out and about checking your thing while you're down at the McDonald's or Starbucks or whatever. And so you can still check in and send emails. But then you want them to pay for it. You're going to have to pick and choose which one you want. You want the freedom to be able to kind of work on the move, or do you want, not to have access to theoretically your time, date, and location data, because no app only does that. I get why you don't want their app on your phone. I understand, but you don't get both worlds. You had no problems using your phone to log into whatever they want you to log into. Unless it's like a authentication thing to get into the building, but then that's BS. They'll just give you a card. There's other ways to do it. They wouldn't trace your cell phone because anybody can access your cell phone. So yeah, I'm calling scammer on this. You're just wanting you're wanting the best of both worlds and whining about it. Stop it. Pick one. Don't use your phone, or use your phone and stop whining. Pick one. It's very easy to not. I don't check email on my phone.
You don't?
I don't check my work email.
I don't check email on my phone, period.
I check my personal emails on my phone. I don't check my work email on my phone. I check it here at the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
I do have if the tower, I do have the email from the tower comes. I can check to my phone if it needs to, but that's only because I'm required by law. If the tower goes crazy, I have to be able to shut it off within like 4 hours or something like that. Right. Being notified. So, all right. What's next?
How to kill time at work.
Do your job.
Just an idea.
Just the, no, silly me. Get ahead of your job. What you can organize. How often? Now I get it. Not all days. This may not be a regular occurrence. Maybe once every 2 weeks. He doesn't have a dang thing to do, right? But he's got to be there just in case something happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can happen. It can happen. Do all the little tasks that don't get done. All the little things that wash doorknobs. Grab some wipes and go wipe down doorknobs. Just keep yourself occupied. Go through your email. Organize your email. right? That's actually working. Do you have anything you need to learn to make you better at your job? Go watch some YouTube videos. Go actually do some research. It's working. Those are the times where you can actually, work on professional development while getting paid for it. Yay! Use that time. And if you can't use it time directly working, use it time that makes you a better employee now, but a better employee for somebody else or the future, right? Make yourself more valuable. Now, if you routinely have extra time and you're going, how do I kill time? How do I kill time? And it's an everyday thing. You worry about your job because you're not being as productive as you need to be. So you need to find a way to make yourself more productive, or they're going to make you redundant. If it takes you 10 hours a week to do your job and they're paying you for 40, guess what? They're not going to do that for long.
No.
So you better find something to fill out the other 30 hours a week with. Now, if it's just it happens today, that happens every now and again, happens. If you're a security guard sitting working in a building at night and you're literally sitting there picking your nose, watching, doing nothing at night, I don't know. You're going to have to find something to do. Watch videos and learn, watch YouTube videos, reading, watch lectures online, take psychology courses. You can take a whole psychology course online for free. You can take history courses online for free. Use it as that time, I would suspect. But yeah, as a rule of thumb, if you're finding yourself, how do I waste time at work? You're probably in trouble if it's a common occurrence. That's all I'm saying. Okay, what do we have next?
How much can my employer see of my browsing history when I'm on their Wi-Fi?
It depends. They can see whatever goes through their systems if they so choose to set it up that way. Now, here's the reality. Most of them don't. It's not worth their time. But they can. And even times they may even have access to that information, even if they didn't deliberately set it up that way. If they want to, they can go back and record and get it. And they can always get it from their ISP if they really, really wanted to. So here's the thing. Don't use their Wi-Fi.
Don't do it.
Unless you have to. You got 5G phone. It's probably faster than their Wi-Fi anyway. So just do that. If not, get a 5G phone. It's faster than their Wi-Fi anyway. So that's my suggestion. Now, when you're browsing history, if you're using their Wi-Fi, now they can't see your browser history of, your browser by itself, but they can see your browsing history of your Wi-Fi, of whatever goes over their Wi-Fi, because it's just their network, and of course, they can tell everything on their network. Okay.
Should I remind my boss I told him not to schedule me with a coworker?
Yes, if you feel the need. Maybe you think he's forgotten or he's not going to remember, because they have a lot on their mind, right? He doesn't even have to willfully forget, right? He can just forget because something else could have happened right after you had that discussion, and it's out of his mind for whatever reason. So yes, most bosses, if you approach it tactfully, will have no problems with a reminder. My question is to just make sure you do it tactfully. So what you think?
I think I should suck it up and go to work.
Well, no, there's maybe someone that, you shouldn't have to work with. Maybe the person shouldn't even be employed anymore, but that's a different discussion. There are people who you just don't schedule together. And so you just don't schedule them together. Who knows what the reason is? I'm not going to make any jumps to any conclusions, but it happens. And so you just tactfully remind your boss to schedule him. That's it.
Okay.
You don't have to make it a big ordeal. You just remind them as you're making up the schedules. I just wanted to remind you that we had that discussion about X, Y, Z over there. I didn't want to work with them, and you said it was okay. Just gently remind them of the schedule.
Okay.
So, okay, one last work question.
Boss made fun of me during a meeting and told me that nobody liked me. How do I go about this?
Okay, one, you're gonna have to have a private conversation with your boss, telling him that you felt that was inappropriate, and see where that goes. Right? That's going to be a difficult conversation that can go sideways in a minute, but you're still going to have it. Two, this is the harder part. You may have to take some of this into consideration. There's a reason these kind of things happen. And one of the things when you go into your boss is, one of the conversations is, look, that was inappropriate the way you dealt with this, but after we deal with that, can we deal with how do I have, can you help me? What's wrong, and how actually have a genuine discussion on how to fit in better, because you're clearly not fitting in. And as difficult as that a discussion as that is, it has to be had, because otherwise this is going to keep happening until you leave. And my guess is this won't be the only place you have trouble fitting in, unless you figure out what your problem is. You could be highly competent at your job, at your tasks, but if you can't fit into the culture of which you are operating, it doesn't mean anything. And maybe you don't want to fit in with this group of people, and that's fine. You find something else. But you are going to have to learn to fit in. And fitting in doesn't necessarily mean changing who you are. Might mean changing how you approach things. Might mean taking an edge off, putting an edge on. Don't know, Maybe people find you as a pushover. Maybe they can't take you seriously because you've got bones in your nose and face piercings and tattoos and whatnot. And you can get away with that if you're highly competent and in a highly sought after segment. But if you're replaceable, that's a vastly different thing. It's just the reality of the world. Then you have to go look for your own, those places where you do fit in, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. It's just harder to find. But once you find them, you never leave, right? Because those are close-knit communities. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? You get back what you put into those. But if you want to fit into corporate America, right, you're going to have to fit into corporate America. If you want to fit into small town living, you're going to have to fit into small town living. If you want to fit into, living in Manhattan, guess what? You're going to have to change some things about yourself to fit in. This is just how people exist in the world. And quite frankly, there comes a time when, you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem. Other people can be problems too. Doesn't change their problems, but you are the problem. You are the only thing you can change. And sometimes all you need to change is your perspective.
Yes.
The problem necessarily isn't you. The problem is maybe how you perceive the world. Maybe you're a little defensive. Maybe you're a little arrogant. Who knows? I can't tell from here. But if you look honestly enough. All right. So what do we got?
We're moving on to intimacy questions.
Okay.
Am I missing out? How much in movies is true?
Okay, they're talking about fornication here. Just to be clear. Yes and no. Well, the movies, they're fake. They're an exaggerated version of reality, right? That's what happens in movies.
And sometimes, rarely, you'll get an intense scene that rivals the movies, but that's not all the time. Those you can count. You remember them in your lifetime. Yeah, I mean,
Well, and just think about movies. You have a bunch of highly paid professionals, using all kinds of cinematic tricks to tell a story, right? They're not real. So the very first thing you have to do is stop using movies and arts and entertainment as your standard. Look, it's wonderful to catch on to the emotion that comes with them. Great. I'm all for it, right? I get it. But they're that emotional deliberately for a reason. They oversell reality, right? Movies don't really talk about how you get smacked in the night by your partner as you're sleeping. That as you get older, you buy bigger beds because you need more room. Because your body does weird things at night and you have to live with it. And all those various things. No. The movie doesn't talk about how if you actually wake up with somebody in your arms like that from the night before, what you're really going to do is deal with bad breath. They don't talk about that in the movie.
and your arm's gonna be asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't talk about that and how your back hurts. No, because you laid in a single position for too long because you didn't want to disturb your sleeping beauty next to you. No. None of those things come across in the movies. We don't even talk about gas. So we're just going to leave that one alone. So are you missing out? There are many thoughts to this. There is no single thought. But in the reality is when you find someone you deeply care about and you are sharing yourselves with each other, there is no greater human connection. There are things that can rival it, but it's designed that way for a purpose. It's to bring you together. That's the purpose of those feelings, of those emotions. So you go back and do it again and again and again, hoping to achieve that thing that's very rarely achieved. So it's the human connection that you're missing out on. But don't rush it. Because, it's perfectly fine if you want to, have relations as entertainment. I'm not going to be a judge. But at some point, the human need for the big, deeper connection will always resurface. And that's what you really need. That's what you're actually missing out on. But you find it when you stop looking, which is really bizarre.
It's
Okay.
a very strange phenomenon. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wife's father passed away. Now she's suddenly a nympho, and I don't understand it.
And either does
Really.
she. So
She doesn't either.
Yeah. Don't understand it.
It could be a couple of different things. It could be now, her father is gone, so she doesn't have to be all prim and proper anymore for anybody she thinks, don't know. She may just be in such grief that she doesn't want to feel it anymore. Anything but this.
Yeah.
Is what
could be an
basically
escapism and and be lucky it's not drugs or alcohol. This one's much easier to recover from.
Yes.
So, or it could be a trauma response. Maybe there's some childhood trauma there that has now been released and she's feeling free. So there's lots of reasons, and she may not even actually know. We've given just a handful of possibilities. So my suggestion is it doesn't matter.
No, really.
You're just going to love her through her difficult time and, in a selfish sense, enjoy it while you've got it. But I understand your concern is much more important than your pleasure. And so I respect that. I just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's touching.
Yeah.
Not every guy would take the time to go, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a strange reaction. Maybe she needs some help, and maybe she does, or maybe she just needs a little time to work through it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
this is, however strange it may seem, this is her way of working through it. As she starts feeling depressed, she wants to not feel it, so she feels something good, and you're there for her. If it goes on too long, I would actually start to seek counseling. Would be my suggestion, but enjoy the next couple weeks. That's a weird thing to say at this time, though. But you know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
trying. I mean, you don't want to make it weird for her.
No, you don't. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I, I get it. Okay. Oh wow, you just went all kinds of today. Okay. Sure.
Why do I seem to be the only woman who doesn't get turned in by letting a man throat me?
Well, one, you're not,
You're absolutely not.
but it's the sore thumb theory, right? It's one of those the people who get noticed are the ones who enjoy these type of things. So now everybody thinks that more people actually enjoy these type of things than they do. It's just like anything else. Some do, some don't. Some things get more attention than others.
The ones who like it go into the porn industry and get paid for it. You know, that's how you get this whole myth going.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that looks visually good on the cameras after all the final cuts and stuff are done. But as someone who works behind the scenes on TV, it's generally nothing like it would seem on the screen. Porn would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're cut together. It's all cut together multiple times. My guess is you're seeing the same shot a number of times over and over again. So, so yeah, you can see the editing eye in there, and you go, "That's not really how it happened." So, no, you're not. You're just perfectly normal. People like different things, and you not liking certain things is well within the realm of normalcy. So, regardless of what it is, it's the one thing we've all learned. There's stuff out there for everybody, and there's someone out there willing to do it with you. So, but your knots are perfectly reasonable and fine. So there. All right, what's next?
I touched my girlfriend while she was sleeping, and now she's mad.
You guys didn't have this discussion about what you can and cannot do beforehand. Yep. Sadly, you kind of have to have these things today. There used to be after you kind of broke a certain wall within the relationship. Like nowadays, you have to actually have these discussions. It's probably a good thing, but you actually have to find out what your relationship barriers are. She doesn't like being woken up that way. You now know.
I apologize. Tell her it won't happen again. You just gave it a whirl and you were wrong and you were off base. Sorry.
Yeah.
Won't happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, your next girlfriend may be perfectly fine with that kind of thing.
You got to ask beforehand, dude.
You got to find out. Yeah. You got to do your homework. Okay.
Okay. I enjoyed the idea of being catcalled, fondled, groped in public, even though it's a big taboo. Why is this?
Because it's a big taboo and you like the theoretical idea anyway of being objectified in that manner.
No, objectified, and you're just so tantalizing that no one can help themselves.
But I also want the idea that these things are far better off in fantasy land than they are in reality land.
Big time. Fantasy is always so nice.
Yeah, these are those things that generally work out better in fantasy land than reality land. So yeah, that would be my suggestion, would be to consider leaving it there. Let it be its fantasy where it doesn't get ruined by this thing we call reality. All right. Last question of the night.
To women who share, when you are sharing sexual experiences with your friends, are you also expecting or okay with it if your partners would share private information about sex with his friends.
Well, again, we're going to go back up. These are one of these things that if you have a open relationship as it is, you have the discussion with the boundaries. These discussions are had.
You
And they
know
worked out
what?
previously.
You know what I do? I use the golden rule. If I would be comfortable with you saying it about me, then I will go ahead and say it about you. I will talk about. So there's not a whole heck of a lot that I talk about.
Well, for me, it's nobody's business. So, no one wants to hear that. So why?
Some people, some women, if you're talking with about a group of women here, they will ask you intimate questions.
What is wrong with you people? Now, there's always that guy in a group of guys who will tell you things that you don't want to hear, right? But the rest of us don't want to hear it. Right? They'll tell us their story about the $3 lady of the evening the night before. And why are you telling us this? And are you acting like this is a good thing? What is wrong with you? We don't want to know, frankly. And you're disgusting. Get away from us. What is wrong with you people? But there is always that guy, man. It's that guy. And yeah, there is always that one.
Oh, is that one, huh?
There's always that one. Well, this is life. There is always that one, isn't there?
Well, yeah.
Even amongst ladies, there's always that one.
There's always that one who asks a load of questions.
You just saying that's not enough. But we have had enough for the night. We're out of here. We want to thank you for joining us. Thank you, Lubby, for putting all the questions together tonight. I mean, you can want to send your questions or comments. You can send them to Late Night Love. You can send it to love@latenightLove.us. You can go to latenightLove.us, and I believe the form is still working. And I haven't moved websites yet. And that's it for us this week. I don't think we have anything quite planned for next week, so we'll find out as soon as you do. Anyway, have a good night. See you next week. Please remember to love everybody.
Good night.